Ta-da! Well, I'm getting really good at this. Hi. Hi, everybody. How the hell is everyone doing? I'm getting really good at this whole live thing. Hi from the UK. Hi from Tennessee. San Diego. Let's see. Oh my gosh, look at that. Oh, it said unable to join again. Why does it do that? Why does it do that to me? I had like 100 people trying to teach me how to do this better, but maybe it just takes a couple of times because there's a lot of us. That's what I'm going to think. It says unable to join again. I'm going to keep trying because I'm a resilient son of a bitch. Thank you. I'll do anything to cover up my hair. Oh gosh, where'd you go? Ray Isle, where are you? Let's see. There you are, viewers. So what if I just tap you and say add? Now it says waiting. Come on, just work.
Hey,
Yes!
it worked.
That took half the time it took last time.
I know. The whole thing's really weird. I don't understand exactly like why it works sometimes, why it doesn't work other times.
I don't either. I don't know how it works at all.
Yeah.
But I have finally come into the 21st century because I can push buttons and make things happen.
That's very impressive, you know? It's like, the 21st century full of like people outside my window cheering for the health workers right now.
Yeah.
It's wait, we're in
Wow.
the
Yeah.
21st century,
We're in
aren't
the
we?
20 what century?
I don't like the 21st century.
Yeah, that's what I said, I think.
Yeah. No, I thought it's the 20th. I'm still back in the 20th.
I don't really know. Thank you for
Oh,
doing this.
yeah,
I know
totally
you're
psyched to do
super
it.
busy and super important, so I really appreciate it. I love doing this stuff because I'm usually the person that's getting asked the questions, and you're usually the person asking the questions.
I know, it's really weird. It's like I'm always interviewing people, and it's just really freaky to be like being interviewed. I don't. It's not what I do.
You're a
It's
big
like,
deal.
well, thanks.
You're good at this.
I don't think of myself as a big deal. Big,
Okay,
a little bit
so
big in the wine world.
my buddy Ray Isle, everybody. This, first of all, I love doing this because a lot of the followers on Two Wolves are kind of new. Some are new to wine, I imagine, and it's really fun to learn together about this
Yeah,
incredible world of never-ending knowledge. And so that's why I love doing these things, because the wine industry is so vast. It's so interesting. And there's phenomenal people everywhere you look, you being one of them
yeah.
and one of my favorite people on the planet.
Thank
So
you.
to
You're one of
introduce
mine.
you, you are the wine editor at Food and Wine Magazine for over 10 years, yes?
Oh yeah, 15. Weirdly
15.
enough,
You also write for all kinds of other publications.
I
So
do
you
travel
obviously
near.
did not sign an exclusive. Smart. You're nominated for a James Beard Award again.
I know. It's like I hope. I'm worried that I'm like going to be the Susan Lucci of the James Beard Awards and like be nominated over and over again and never win. But fingers crossed.
I'm pulling for you. I think that's amazing. And you have an awesome show called Sip, Savor, and Spit, which I nailed recently.
Yes, you did.
And you tried
You
to throw me
you
for a
nailed
loop.
you nailed the Freud blind whiskey. That was
Yes.
impressive. That was
It's
legit.
impressive or a cry for help.
You can have both. It's like in amidst the cry for help, it was a very impressive cry for help.
Yeah, thank you. I have good taste when I cry for help. So you sent me this wine.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I got it.
I opened it.
It's good, right?
Really
It's
good.
Yeah, it's really good. For everybody out there, it's Paleo Rosso from Italian winemaker La Macchioli, and they're on the Tuscan coast. They're right. It's basically kind of the vineyards kind of head down right towards the water, and it's Cabernet Franc. And I picked it because I love your Cabernet Franc. You know, and I've written about it.
Yeah.
So, and I also
So
just love the grape.
that
It's
leads me
cool
to my
grape.
first question, is was how much wine do you get sent for free? And does it sway? I'm asking for a friend. Does it sway how you write about it?
It does it. Well, how much wine do I get sent for free? So like I'll just like I'm in my apartment in New York right now, and this is just like the past week basically. But it's like, you know,
Yeah, look at that.
bottles, boxes. So it's a lot. And I kind of get spammed with wine, which is not a bad thing. But I don't let it affect my, I don't let it affect my judgment on the wine. And I also don't like. I also realize there's like some wines. Like I have my own personal taste, but I also try and think about what other people's tastes are too. So,
Yeah, that's what I was
it's like
wondering, because some writers sort of take a more journalistic standpoint, and others have a really strong feeling or opinion or agenda, and that
yeah,
must be really hard because you do make friends while you do
yeah.
this.
I do, and I always think of myself more as a wine writer than a wine critic. I mean, I write about the people and the places and the stories more than I write about like
Yeah,
this is 93 points or something like that.
yeah,
And like the article I did with you about Thanksgiving is like it's really about your kind of journey through wine and so on, rather than this wine gets this many points and you should go out and buy it. You know.
yeah. I
Um,
get that.
so, but yeah, I get sent a lot of wine.
I
It's
got
kind of
sent
crazy.
4 bottles. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
felt
love this
very
stuff.
special.
It also ages really well. It'll go for years and years and years.
It's beautiful. I love Cab Franc. Cab Franc is my spirit animal. Although our Syrah now is trying to lure me away, make me
Well,
have an
you know
affair.
that's the thing. You get seduced by these grapes, and you suddenly have abandoned the one you thought was your true love. And then Pinot Noir comes in and messes you up completely.
Oh yeah.
Um,
For me, Pinot is. I mean, they're obviously incredible sacred grape, but for me, it's a timing thing with Pinot, and maybe that's because of my aggressive nature. Like I like really balanced wines and elegant wines. I don't like the big, jammy, kind of over
yeah,
extracted, over oaked wines. Although I did when I first started drinking wine. Um, but yeah, it's crazy how it changes. And
well,
when you go
yeah. Go
ahead,
on. Sorry.
go
Oh, I
ahead.
was just say one thing I like about Cab Franc is it's kind of like it's the more like somewhat more delicate and aromatic version of Cabernet Sauvignon. It's actually the father of Cabernet Sauvignon, or the mother. I mean, call it either one.
I love
Cabernet
it.
Sauvignon is descended from Cabernet Franc, but it's got that kind of really seductive elegance to it that I really like. That's what I think is cool about it.
And it's so different too from year to year. It's so different.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
green sometimes, and cool climate versus warm climate. Yields matter. It's a hard, like Pinot. I imagine I don't grow it, but Cab Franc is an animal that has to be
yeah.
understood and approached with caution, like a very
Yep.
large horse.
Yes. Like a large horse that you have to get to know, and then as soon as you think you know it, it's like it just does something different and messes you up again. You
But it's
know?
such a good food wine, and there's so many incredible Cab Francs all over the world. And
Yeah.
this is another one. So thank you. I'm adding that to my
Cool.
my list of loves. So I wanted to tell the story about how we met, because I think it's really
Yeah.
funny. You have a lot of funny stories, actually. So we hooked up. I was on tour. We were gonna do a little sort of blurb inside of Food and Wine magazine, and
Right.
a little kind of casual interview. And I said, okay, I'll be in New York in a couple of weeks. I'll meet you at this hotel bar,
Yeah.
and we'll have a drink and chat, and it'll be super fun. But I knew the wine list at that hotel bar was 100% Italian varietals,
Yeah.
of which outside of Super Tuscans and a couple Nebbiolos, I know nothing. And so Allison, my co-winemaker at Two Wolves, she is an Italian connoisseur. I mean, she makes Italian varietals for her label. So I had the wine list printed out, and I had her study it for me and tell me about a couple of wines, a couple of their stories, and which one I should choose.
You're kidding. You didn't tell me that.
I didn't.
That's
I
amazing.
was so nervous. And then I got to you were there first. I came and sat down next to you and I got the wine list and I looked at it and I was like, do I do this or do I just, oh, fuck it. I
And I
handed
think,
you the list. I was like, I don't know a single wine on this list. And one of the many things I love about you is I'll never forget what you said to me. You said, nobody does. And I
it's
just
true.
felt in that moment, I was so relieved to have been my authentic self and also relieved that you could receive that in such a lovely way. And that's one of the things I love about you. You make wine approachable and you make it fun. And, while it is an incredibly vast rabbit hole of passion and this is, generations and generations of spirit and love and toil and soil and all of that, it also needs to be really fun and it needs to be about connection and it needs to be easy for people to jump into. And
I mean, it's fermented grape juice, like, baseline. That's what it is. And at the same time, it can be this incredibly complex thing that you can learn as much as you want to about. It's almost like, it's funny. I was thinking about this before we started talking, and, sometimes I use the analogy of baseball, but it's also like music. I mean, it's like, you can listen to music and not know a thing about like what a key is or how to read music or how to play an instrument and love the hell out of it.
mm-hmm.
But if you know how music is made and how that something's in the key of F and this is why they move to this chord, then it's more that you appreciate it differently. You don't like it necessarily love the song more or love it less. You just have a kind of different understanding of it, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
when you listen to music, you probably hear it very differently from when I listen to music, for instance.
Maybe.
It's fun. And wine's kind of the same way because you can pick up if someone picked up a glass of this and they didn't know it was Cab Franc and they didn't know it was from Le Macchiaioli in Italy and so on, and they took a sip, they'd be like, this is freaking great. I mean, they just would just enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. I do like that
At the
they
same
make it a
time,
little bit easy for you. Obtained from 100% Cabernet Franc grapes. That is
yes,
helpful for somebody that doesn't know. I mean, it's hard to figure out what's what sometimes just by looking at bottles
yeah,
and if you don't know about the region, if you don't know the rules for the labels, it can be quite daunting and confusing.
yeah. It's like, everybody does this. When they're first getting into wine, they walk into a wine store and they see this like wall of 200 Chardonnays, and you're like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to buy. It's like,
You're like, I'll take the $20 one.
yeah, if the label looks cool, I'll buy it.
That's my
But
favorite part too, is the story behind it. You get to hear all those stories,
yeah,
and a lot of the time in person.
yeah, and so many of the people are so incredibly cool. This is it's one reason. I got into the business of wine because I loved wine, but I also got into it because I really love the people. It's like, there's
Will
so
you
many.
will you tell the story about how you walked into a wine store when you were in college? And I love that story. Do you remember that story
Well,
you told me?
it's probably. So the couple walking into wine store stories, but I remember
It's
that like
why you
early
quit
on.
school.
Yeah, well, so I quit. I had actually it was grad school. I had a writing fellowship, and I got to this point where I went into a wine store and hang on, I got to get up and walk over and let my daughter in because she was going out for a run and to continue the
Aww.
story while I'm talking.
Aww.
Um, we're doing what we can with the self-isolating stuff.
Yeah, I get it. In
But
a second, I'm going to
you know,
scream at the top of my lungs if this kid doesn't go to sleep. I'm
it's
going to give him a knuckle sandwich.
I
Okay,
think
go.
unfortunately she rained on. Anyway, but so I realized that I was in this program in the university, and I went to this wine store, and I realized that essentially I didn't love what I was doing in the university. I loved what I was doing. I loved all the people I've met in wine. I loved being around wine, and it was just one of those snap moments where you think I'm doing the wrong thing. But I also remember an earlier time when I was in a wine store, and there was this. The problem with wine is like sometimes it's really pretentious, and there was this guy, and I asked for a Cabernet, and I was like, I don't really, this is early on. I didn't know what I was talking about in terms of wine. I was like, I don't think I want one that's too tannic. And he kind of looked at me like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, I hate you. You know, I want, you just ruined my joy in wine. And so my entire career has been like trying to not do that to people.
Yeah.
You know, and trying to
That's
make
that's what I love about you, and it makes it so fun for people. I mean, it can be, I mean, I've been in situations where I've been, you know, pat on the head and said, "Oh, you're trying to make wine. That's so cute."
yeah, which is like, and one, it's dismissive. Two, it's freaking irritating, and
Yeah.
three, it's you know, it's also there's this like, well, you're not from the wine world, so what? How could you think of making wine? And it just bugs me like crazy, because it's the history of wine is people who you know, it's all people's grandfathers who were putting stuff in you know, a barrel in the basement. You know, that's the
Yeah.
classic thing about it. You know, you're not Italian if your grandfather didn't make wine. And so it's not, you know, peasants drank wine. It's not, it doesn't have to be fancy, and it
Yeah.
is fun. It's a social thing. It's like, you know, it's great fun drinking wine with people.
I love when you get around a table with your friends. I was going to say and family, but I'll just keep it to friends. And although my children are not going to feel that way about me,
They're going to love you forever.
of course, unconditionally and
Rely on you for
intensely.
guidance. When they're 16, they'll be like, "Mom, what should I do with my life?"
And Mom, when I'm 33, I think I'm ready to move out, but just to the end of the driveway.
Yeah.
I love sitting around a table with people and somebody stands up and they brought a bottle of wine, and it can be a $12 bottle of wine. It can be a $200 bottle of wine. And the minute they start telling this story that they know and only they know, right?
Right.
Their eyes light up and they come alive in the same way that you go. I've been so lucky to travel and go to these vineyards all over the world and meet the farmers and meet the wine growers and the winemakers and watch their eyes light up.
Yeah.
There's so much passion and just connection and memories to be made with it all. I love it. I love it.
And it's one of those things that ties, like, it ties people to the ground they're from. It ties you to the earth. It's farming. You know, it's like you really. I would say, you know, I always think that if you start to like wine, you should go out of your way to go to some vineyard, pick a wine region, any wine region, and walk through some vineyards just to get, like, feel the dirt under your feet and understand how.
What's a place that surprised you?
Place that surprised me. Well, a couple, like, I'm in New York, and the Finger Lakes, you know, New York are, you know, people always just think of California, Washington, Oregon. That's what they think of in terms of the U.S. and the world. And Finger Lakes in New York are beautiful, and they produce, like, spectacular Riesling, which people don't realize. And then another place that surprised me, you know, is probably Galicia in Spain, the west coast of Spain, where Albarino comes from, because it's a one, I love the wines. They're white, you know, really crisp white wines. Two, it doesn't, you know, you think of Spain as like, you know, Don Quixote and flat and hot, and Galicia looks like Ireland. It's on the Atlantic side of the mountains of Spain, and it looks green and verdant. And it's also cool because there's a long history of women making wine there, because it's a fishing region. The men were always out on the boats, and the women made all the wine. And so, and that's kept
I
going.
like that.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And so, I don't know, it's a really surprising, wonderful region to drive around and get to.
That's another fun fact about this, is that it's a female owner and a female winemaking assistant.
It is. Cinzia Merli, I mean, she's incredible. She started it with her husband or partner. I can't remember if they were actually married. And he passed away, you know, early on, and she took over, and it's tough in Italy to be, you know, especially when she did, it was tough to be a woman proprietor of a winery, and she's a badass. I mean, she's brilliant. The wines are great, and she's, you know, it's now one of the, you know, producing one of the great wines of the world, I think. So that's cool.
Why I love Lelou Bizet-Loise's story too, because she had to fight tooth and nail every step of the way, even after she was proven to become the incredible biodynamic
Yeah.
goddess of wine that she is. And I wonder if in Italy or France, it's harder to be the, what do you call it when you have a son and the son takes your,
Like the primogeniture or whatever, that you basically inherit.
yeah. So if you don't have sons, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
It's kind of frowned upon to leave your legacy to a
And Lalu,
measly little girl. But, she took it, and look at it. I mean,
I'm not going to walk up to Lalu and call her a little girl. She
at
probably
one
killed
point
me.
she probably punched you. That's why I love her.
She's great. I mean, those wines are crazy expensive, but they're brilliant wines.
They're beautiful. There's so many brilliant female winemakers, especially even in my area in Santa Barbara County.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
there's
like
more
your
female winemakers in Santa Barbara County than in anywhere else in California.
could well be. I mean, I don't know the percentages, but there's certainly a bunch of them, and they're really good. And like your assistant winemaker is really cool. She's great.
Allison is incredible, and her wines are. She gives me a case, and I'm like, wait, there was 12 bottles in that case. It's only been 10 days, and they're all gone. Are you sure? I think you forgot too.
It's probably good wine.
So, here you go. This is a food and wine pairing question. What wine would you pair with sourdough?
So,
I think everybody wants to know.
Yeah. Well, so I, as you know, I did this completely insane video. I think I was
my favorite video I've ever seen. I spit my drink out when I watched that video.
I am so gratified. It was like I woke up at 4 a.m. like in this sort of Corona stress thing, and I was like, I'm going to do a completely insane sourdough bread and wine pairing video. And it's if people go to my profile thing, it's on there. But
it was brilliant.
But the truth, I mean, I do think there's this weird thing that people get really worried about pairing wine and food. And I mean, bread is bread. Bread goes with literally everything. It's this, it's the staff of life. It's, you can't argue with it. But if I had to like sit down and take a piece of bread and a wine and pair it, honestly, I'd take a really great wine, because there's a kind of thought when you do pairing that there's like one star on the table. And if you have an incredibly complex, like if you're making, some crazy French laundry recipe that takes 37 steps and involves all these esoteric ingredients, then you want people to pay attention to what you cooked. And so you choose a wine that's not going to like draw too much attention to itself. Whereas if you have a piece of bread, you might as well pull out some kind of killer wine, because it's gonna show, the bread is going to kind of recede. It's going to play like the supporting role, and the wine's going to be this amazing.
Not my sourdough.
Your sourdough, on the other hand, is intense. My
as good as my Cab Franc. Hold on, I have to show you. I made sourdough biscuits. I hear you're out of sourdough starter. What happened?
My wife, whom I love dearly, inadvertently tossed out the sourdough. It went into the trash, the sourdough starter. Now, on the other hand, it did look like a weird Tupperware thing full of goo. So, no blame.
Look at my biscuits.
Your biscuits those are excellent biscuits.
I know. I'm so excited. I bet they go well with this wine.
So I'm actually going to run a kind of like emergency run to a fellow food and wine editor's apartment this weekend
and grab some starter.
Grab some starter. Yeah.
I was going to send you some, but I don't know how it'll.
It'll
ship.
like it'll probably like grow and take over the truck that it's in.
Okay, so I have a question. So, do you have I have a couple of favorite experiences from traveling and talking to wine growers. I've never had a really bad experience, but do you have a favorite experience or place that you've been, or least favorite without naming names or naming?
Yeah, let's see. Favorite for sure. I mean, one of the things about wine is there's so many. It's like,
I know.
One of them, I went to visit like early on, not like right when I was at Food and Wine to start. I went to visit a champagne producer called Jacques Salas, who's a kind of genius, makes very distinctive champagnes, works organically and all that, and doesn't speak English. And I don't speak French. And we had this like 3-hour tasting together that was all sign language and champagne. And like about an hour and a half into it, it was like we actually knew how to talk to each other without knowing how to talk to each other. And
Oh
I
yeah.
ended up with all these notes based on this. And then about like 2.5 hours in, after a lot more champagne, all that just went to hell because you know, you sort of reach a point of understanding and then it just goes to pieces. But that was really cool. And you know, bad experiences. Actually, beer. I went to visit a craft brewery, and the guy sort of knew I was coming, but didn't really know. And I was trying to find him, and I went into the back where they had the tanks, and he started screaming at me to get out of the brewery, and like I was violating some kind of insurance rule and all this kind of thing. I was like,
Oh,
dude,
come on.
chill out. And so I left. It scared
Yeah.
me. You know? He was a
And
very,
his beer was shitty anyway.
yeah. So you know, stick to wine. I'm just
Yeah.
telling you.
My brother is actually, he's been homebrewing for, I don't know, 15 years, and he's gonna have a go at it.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about homebrewing is you can actually make good beer at home
He makes really good beer.
much easier than you can make wine. I mean, wine takes forever. Beer's fast.
But sanitization with beer is a little much
Yeah,
for me.
yeah. And if you don't sanitize it, you end up with some really skanky beer.
So what's like, just for people that don't really understand like what you do, like what makes up the core? Do you have like 85 different directions that you're running in all the time, or is there? I know
Yeah,
you're writing, but a lot you can't travel right now. So, but in
yeah. I mean,
general,
yeah. So normally I'm running 85 different directions. Right now, I mean, I travel usually like a week or two out of every month, whether it's for a story, research for a story, or for events, which we're not. I mean, we have our big Aspen event, which you've been to, which we had to cancel this year, first time in like 37 years. Um, and so, and then some kind of business related travel. So normally I'm on a plane a lot, you know, usually to places with grapes. I'm writing a lot. I kind of oversee in any of the rest of the wine coverage for the magazine. If I'm not writing it, I'm you know, weighing in on it and so on. And then I do a lot of speaking, you know, sort of speaking engagements and events and teaching classes. And I mean, I really love talking to people about wine, like an audience. You know,
yeah,
it's fun because you see people get into it and they see them start to like, they really light up. The one thing about wine classes is like if you have an hour-long wine class, you basically got 45 minutes of attention, and then you got 15 minutes of everybody so buzzed that they can't pay attention anymore. So you
yeah,
got to kind of front load the information. But yeah, and then you know there's all the usual sort of social media stuff and all that. But it's and then we're shooting a lot of videos now too. We have
great videos.
a wine school video series coming up. We've got the Sip Savor Spit, which I probably need to rename because I can't say it.
No, it's good. It's so fun.
You know, which
It's
you
so
did.
fun. I watched all of them, and they're so much fun.
It's a blast. It's you know, and it's meant to be fun. It's like you know,
Yeah.
you know, wine. It's funny. Wine. There's all this stuff to learn about it if you want, but it's you know, I also say it's not like trigonometry. It's not like math class because it's really fun to learn about wine because you're drinking wine while you learn about it. You know, and you're usually with friends. So
Yeah,
you know, how much unfun can it be?
I know. I love it. I am. Is your wife into wine the same way you are? Like, do you guys sit around at night and?
No. She is into drinking good wine, which I have. And when we met, it was funny. She said, you know, early on, she said, you know, don't destroy my taste for cheap wine. And I think I kind of blew that. I think because she likes nice wine now.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, she works in the arts world, and I work in the wine world, and she's more than happy to drink good wine, but doesn't really want to talk about like whether it's clay soils or gravel soils.
Right.
I'm more than happy to go to a performance, you know, or dance thing or something, but I don't necessarily need to know all the cultural history of Cambodian court dance or whatever.
Right.
So it's a nice balance. It works pretty well, you know. I don't
That's
know.
funny. I sent my mom. I grew up thinking wine was a punishment at Hanukkah because we had to drink Manischewitz. Um,
That is a punishment.
oh God. And I'm like, Mom, I'm 10. This is illegal. But
Yeah,
I
but
sent her a bottle of Chateauneuf du Pape once early on that was the wine. That was my kind of aha wine.
that was the wine
And
that you like abandoned your tour and like took a
I
train
did.
to Chateauneuf du Pape to
I
drink.
did. I went to the wrong place, but I thought Chateauneuf du Pape was a producer, not a region. But it's okay. We all start somewhere. And
Yeah.
I sent her a bottle of Chateauneuf du Pape, and she called me and she said, "It tastes just like the stuff I get at the grocery store." And I was like, "Cork it and send it back.
Yeah.
You're fucking ungrateful." I was like,
Yeah. That's kind of bleak. Well, does Carrie like wine? I mean,
Carrie likes wine. Um, he likes the wine experience, right? So we were in
yeah,
Australia and we got to go to Penfolds and McLaren Vale and go to D'Arenberg, and he
yeah,
likes the experience. He likes like me, he likes people that are passionate about what they do.
yeah. Which is,
But
I
he
mean,
would much prefer like a shot of tequila or a michelada.
yeah. Well, that's fair enough. I mean, tequila's good. I like tequila too.
It's safe.
It
Tequila's my fighting drink. Tequila's where the claws come out for me.
oh, really? It's not gin because a lot of people it's gin.
No, gin is called Mother's Ruin for a
Yes, that's
reason.
right. Yeah, it's dangerous stuff. Yeah, stay away from the fight and drink.
So I have another question for you. What did you think about me when you heard there was another celebrity winemaker trying to come
Well,
come on the scene
so
before you met me?
before I met you, I mean, I hate to admit, the first reaction is always like, "Oh God, another celebrity winemaker." You know, they basically because so many of the celebrity wines are just someone licensing their name.
Right.
And it's like they'll hook up with a big wine company, and they do a deal, and they're like, "We'll put your name on it, and we'll sell like a zillion bottles, and it'll be fine." And you get a little. I mean, as for my role, you get a little jaded. The one thing though is that because the person who mentioned you to me. I think I heard about it. I think I heard about the wine early beforehand, but Song, who mentioned you to me, she's got a really good radar for. She would never send me information about someone that wasn't legit, and so
Mm.
it made me think, okay, well, maybe I should find out about this and see what's going on here, because there are a couple like, you know, I mean, Kyle MacLachlan, who was in Twin Peaks and all, makes wine, and he's really involved in it and cares about it, and no- you know that kind of. There's celebrities who really get into wine, but then there are, it's with anything. There's like a lot of marketing out there, a lot of, sorting out. So I have to admit, I was a little skeptical at first, but
Yeah.
the first time we talked, it was like instantaneous awareness that it wasn't just one, it wasn't a marketing gig, but two, that you were really into wine, like a
Yeah.
little soul, not and not just making your own wine, but just like actually really into wine, which you meet the wine people, and the people who've been bitten by the bug, basically.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about Chateauneuf de Pop for probably an hour and not be bored,
Yeah.
which would bore everyone else around us. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I had a lot of people in the beginning say that's why it was so fun for me to make wine. No one knew I was making it for 5 years. And that was really nice for me, A, to have a secret for once, and B, to be able to, make a lot of mistakes and learn in a casual, slow way and build and get the knowledge and get some experience under my belt. But there were a lot of people that were like, if you can release this anonymously, you should. Or you're really going to have to prove the dirt beneath your fingernails. And I was like, well, that I've been doing that forever, and
yeah,
in
and
my life, and then in music, and now in wine.
and
And
now in
so
wine,
that,
and people, and the truth is, people will. I mean, certainly in the wine business, people will know. I mean, if it's an
well, we
ad,
know when we know bullshit from a mile away
yeah,
for anything,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. I mean, it's like auto tune in singing. You can tell that
Mm-hmm.
something's been faked, and I think your radar is pretty attuned, especially if you've been in the business for a long time. And so, I was,
I have to say, I love Song. I love her so much.
yeah,
Um,
she's a, I
she's
mean,
so special and so deep and so kind and so, her taste is just, she's rad.
yeah, she is. I mean,
And
that's a
it's
good
fun
word
to
for
meet
it.
like badass, like people. It's fun because in the music business, I've worked with a lot of people, and you kind of shake hands and you write a song, and you either become instant friends or you never see them again.
Right.
As I'm sure it is in everything, but but there's a lot of kind of Pepe Le Douche kind of people around in the music business. Very forgettable people. But then you come into wine and I mean, these are farmers you're talking to, and people that are traveling, like you said, 2 weeks out of the year to learn about it. You have to love it.
Yeah.
And then there's the winemaker that's ninth generation or 16th generation, um, or the first biodynamic in their sort of community, and it's just that I've not met really anybody that has been douchey.
Yeah, I mean, it's which is rare. I mean, it's like, it's funny you say that. I was talking to a guy, Damien, who owns a place called La Grange de Fain in Loire, for a story I'm working on, and it's like, how long have you been making wine? And we said, well, we've been bottling it with our name on it for about 6 generations, but we've probably been on our land for about 15 or 16 generations. And it's, just think, that's just it's like that little plot of land, you know,
I know.
his great 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 grandfather was farming that. I think, there is a side of wine that is the corporate, like, beverage side of wine, that's like effectively like the Coca-Cola side of wine,
Yeah,
which
I haven't really been.
which
I don't have any experience with that.
yeah, and that's not as interesting, and it's not even really the same world. It's just a
Yeah, it's business.
yeah, and it's like the Muzak version of wine.
Yeah.
But yeah, the music business actually sounds kind of disconcerting. It's like there's a lot
There's
of
so many great, but again, it's like it just depends on how you roll, right? If you
yeah,
want to have authentic relationships and you want to learn and you want to be around people that just live and eat and sleep and breathe it, then you're going to find good people.
yeah, you'll find
Like,
it.
for instance, or if you have a friend over here that's a guitar player and you really love that person, then you're going to meet the bass player, the drummer, and the singer, right? You're going to meet, because that person's a good person. They're going to run in a good circle. Same with wine, right? For
Yeah,
you, I sat down with you. I fell instantly in love with you. I wanted to be your friend forever. And then you instantly introduced me to Claire Carver, Big Table
yeah.
Farm in
Who's
Willamette, which I
who's
had never been to. I You hooked us up. I emailed her. We went and made caviatelli at her house, and I've been to her house twice now. And she's another person that I want to be friends with forever. She's
she's
incredible.
amazing.
Her and Brian are incredible.
Yeah,
So that's kind of, it just depends on the circles you move in, I guess.
yeah. I mean, we sat down at the hotel that first time. We were supposed to talk for like 30 minutes, I think, or something. And we basically sat there for about 2 hours drinking
I know.
Sicilian
My
white wine.
manager came and checked on me. He's like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Let's have another."
Yeah, I mean, the people quickly.
Yeah.
It's the way it works. I mean,
Aspen was fun. I had fun going to your panel. You're very good at it. You're really, really good at it. You're very fun to watch. And,
thank you.
for a lot of, like, people can talk about something and you're just like, I have no idea what that person just said. But you make it really approachable. So my question is, what do you say to people right now? There's 440 people here with us.
Hi, 404 people.
What do you say to people that don't really know how to get their feet wet and really like wine but don't know the right question to ask? Like, do you just how do
you
you
know,
do it if you
when
can't travel, if you can't?
if you can't travel, you can't. One thing you can always do is find a like a skip the supermarket, skip the places that don't have anybody who can talk to you about anything, and go to like a wine store with people who are into wine and are friendly, which is key.
Not that one in Stanford,
Not
not that
not
one in Berkeley.
not the unfriendly one I went to. I think that guy's got to be gone by now, But
He's
one,
probably
it
listening
helps.
right now.
It really, he's just like going to come get me. but it really helps to find a place that you can talk to and say, something as simple as like, you know, I like red or I like white, or, I think I like Pinot Noir, but I'm not sure. I have $25 to spend. Tell me something really cool to try,
Yeah, and then tell me the story behind it.
and tell me the story behind it. And,
Yeah.
and I want a wine with a story behind it, not a wine that's a mass produced corporate product,
Yeah.
and you'll find those at the smaller stores for sure. And so, and the other thing is to not, I think, is not to get stuck. Like, let's say you like Pinot Noir. I think, you can go on drinking Pinot Noir forever, but you won't actually learn that much, by drinking Pinot Noir forever. You can walk into the store and say, I like Pinot Noir from California. And I got $25. What can you give me that's not Pinot Noir from California that you think I'm going to like? And there are going to be there's always going to be some misses. Like, you're always going to get a couple of things where you're like, that's weird. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But, it's a little like going to, it's like the first time you have sushi, and, you eat uni and you're like, maybe not. So, but take a look.
I have a good Song quote, actually. Song told me she was with me the first time I ate uni, and she told me it tasted like God's vagina.
As it does. I mean, one, God is a woman.
I was like, ooh, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know if I want to try that.
Yeah, but it's
I'm sorry,
damn good
whoever's
uni.
offended out there.
Yeah,
The longer I go, the more offensive I get.
We were at 440 people, now we're at 6.
Stick with me, I'll offend the shit out of you. All right, so go ahead. So get a story. Go to a wine store.
Go to a wine store that's actually like staffed by people who will talk to you, who care about wine, and then start trying everything. The other thing is just to try everything you can try. Like, go to wine tastings. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to get a group of friends and say, everybody brings something different. We're going to try them all. We're going to taste them all.
Yeah, that is fun.
I can talk about it. The main thing is to remember it's fun. It's about hanging out with other people, and don't worry ever if it's like, don't worry about wine speak. Like, is it blackberries or blueberries or any of that?
Yeah.
Worry about, do you like it? Is it interesting? Would you want to travel to the place to meet the people who made it?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
One of the things I did very early on was I would stick with a grape, because I started WeSet, Introduction to Grapes, online when I was on tour. That was kind of my first foray into educating myself on wine. So I signed up for, I think you call it WeSet, right? Or do you call it WSET?
WSET? I don't know. I don't know how you...
Anyway, I call it WeSet. It's WSET.
Yeah.
People can't get over the God's vagina comment. So sorry about that. Actually, somebody just said, I'm in uni marketing. That's our new tagline. I'm like,
I think on trucks all over the city, it's going to be good.
And make sure the driver's wearing a mask to really offend people. So I would start with whatever grape I was learning that week through WeSet. I would go out and get 5 different wines with the same grape and do a tasting by myself, or usually by myself, because I have a strong liver. But and then for a month I would just get into Chardonnay, and then I would get into Cabernet Sauvignon, and then I would get into Malbec, and you quickly, you don't have to spend a ton of money. There's great wine that is not expensive. And so I did that, and then also like educational stuff. So you have to tell me how I find these wine videos that you guys are making. How do I find them?
Yeah. So the wine videos that we're making are on YouTube. The Food and Wine account on YouTube, Food and Wine, like subscribe to the Food and Wine channel on YouTube. That's where those wine videos are. The other thing is I post almost all of them on my Instagram feed. So if you just Ray Isle at Instagram, it's like an isle out in the ocean, Ray Isle. I post them all. I tend to put them in those little highlight circles,
I just learned about those.
I did. Me too. So I've got, a couple of them up there. But I always post them because they're fun, they are
fun. They are fun. And the WeSet ones, Jancis does like 3-minute blurbs. And I got more from that early on than I've ever gotten from anything. It's just like, talk to me for 3 minutes about one thing, and it's going to stick with me forever.
Yeah. And the other thing is, that, when it comes to grapes, like let's say you like Pinot Noir or let's say you like Cabernet, you can get all of these grapes are grown in different places or places around the world. So
Hmm.
if you want to get like 4 Cabernets, get one,
Get them
get one
from
from
all over.
Bordeaux, get one from deep California, get one from Chile,
Hmm.
and get one from Australia. Just
Hmm.
open them up, taste them next to each other. The other thing is like, you don't have to drink the whole bottle one night. But, bottle of wines, it's actually interesting to taste what happens to it the next day.
Hmm.
So you can drink it all in one night. I do that.
I have done so when I try. We're very, very small. We don't make a lot of wine, but I wanted to be in a couple of restaurants that I love, with chefs that I love. And one of my goals was Blackberry Farm in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And, you know, that wine Bible is one of the most incredible
It's
wine lists I've ever read
yeah.
in my life. And it's also really informative to read that wine list. You can learn a lot about where wine comes from. I
And
love it, but I was so nervous because I go myself with my wine and I taste the person through my wines, and they either, I mean, I've only done it like 5 or 6 times. We're very
yeah,
new, but you can tell when you walk in and the person's like, "Here we go,"
right.
and then you start pouring the wines and talking about the wines, how they were made, and all that, and you can see the flip
Yeah.
where the person is now, the switch has been turned on. Now we're both talking about something we love, and all judgment is out the window. Now we're both in the same sandbox, and now we're
Yeah.
just talking about stuff we love. And
Yeah.
those are the kind of, like, it's that kind of connection. I don't even know why I started talking about this right now, but
Oh, but Andy Chabot, who's the wine director there, is an
he's
incredible.
incredible, and he's
He's a
so much
wonderful
fun to
guy.
talk to.
Yeah, he's a blast, and he's got that kind of like you think he's not going to be funny because he's kind of like
Yeah,
quiet, and
yeah,
he's actually really
he's
funny.
super funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He should be. I mean, he's another guy who was going to be in Aspen this year. Our event in Aspen. I'm still. I actually can't wrap my brain around the idea we're not doing it. It's.
I know.
I mean, 2021, we'll be back.
I'll
But
be there.
good,
Um,
please come.
I love it. I had so much fun. I had so much fun, and I did my own Chave tasting there with my friend Dane, and at a restaurant. And I don't know why we did it, but we had to, and it
Well,
was
that's an
wonderful.
excellent thing to do, though. I
I was
mean,
like,
yeah,
"Yep, I like Aspen."
yeah, Aspen's good. You could sit there and drink a bunch of great Syrah and hang out, in the mountains.
So, how will this change now for you this next year? Like, where do you think it's all going?
I don't know. I mean, the thing we've been trying. So when this all hit, like we were about to send our July restaurant issue off to press, and we had to rework the entire issue to to
Yeah,
to try and really to try and anticipate what restaurants are going to be like. The wine grapevines don't care. Grapevines are fine. They go on doing their thing. And like I said, I was talking to Damien in Loire. He's out in the vineyards working with his tractor. It's him and a couple of guys. They're far enough apart, it doesn't matter. But the restaurant world is like an atom bomb went off in the restaurant world.
I
And
know.
we work with a lot of chefs. And I have a lot of friends who are sommeliers and in the restaurant business. And I mean, my hope is that we go back to something like normal pretty quickly because restaurants work on such a narrow margin that a lot of people can't survive for too much longer, without some business coming in. But it's so unprecedented. It's so weird. On the
I
other
know.
hand, restaurants have survived World War One, World War Two. The industry people always want to go out to eat. People always want to get together. We're a social, you know, organism.
Hmm.
Humans like to hang out together. So we'll figure a way. But it's really hard to envision right now what it's going to be like because like sitting 10 feet apart from people with a mask on your face is not the restaurant experience that we like. Uh,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's like it plays into what you do too, other than wine. It's like, when do we get concerts again? I mean, when do we get 20,000 people in the stadium together?
I know.
It's so weird.
But it will resume eventually. It will.
Yeah.
Life will go back not to normal, hopefully to something better than it ever was.
Yeah.
And people are really resilient, especially creative people.
Yep. And
Um,
there's
and
always been.
also the communities want to rally around, I think, like at least in my small community here, we're rallying around our restaurants. We're ordering takeout. We're buying gift certificates. We're trying to, everybody's really trying to rally, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's been amazing how much support there is for the restaurant community, both inside the community and outside it. It's it's honestly makes me really kind of happy and heartened, I would say, and I am optimistic. It's just tough, and the same thing. I mean, people aren't going to like stop liking music. It's never going to happen.
Maybe mine, but
No, I think they'll probably
I
keep
don't.
liking it. I mean, I'm biased, but I kind of think they're going to keep liking it.
I told Carrie I figured out how to use GarageBand. I've been recording myself. I was like, hey, Carrie, you can be my producer.
There you
And
go.
we'll make the worst
Like,
music
this might not be the
ever.
solution, but
Uh,
I don't know.
well, I just absolutely adore you, and I can't wait till we can hang out in person.
I want to come walk around the vineyards. That's like I would kill to get out of New York and walk around a vineyard right now.
We can social distance walk all day.
Yeah, well, I gotta get to Santa Barbara first, but
Oh yeah, you
I
might
would
have to
love
walk.
to. I miss you. I miss you. I would love to see you.
I miss you too. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, it's a blast. It's totally great.
That was really fun.
So
How am I at interviewing? Am I okay?
I think you're excellent. You could get a career as a wine journalist if you want.
Send me tips, Elaine. I know Elaine's on here. She'll send me tips.
I know she is somewhere on there. Yeah.
Allison's here too. Hi, Allison.
Hi.
Thank you all for joining us. Now you can see, I'm sure, why I love Ray Isles so much. Why everybody that knows Ray loves Ray. That's all people talk about. You know Ray. I love Ray. I'm like, I love Ray too.
Well, it's a mutual appreciation society in this case.
Yeah. Thank you. Good luck with your sourdough.
Thank you. I gotta get my new. I gotta get my new starter.
I ate a biscuit. It goes well with this.
I like the biscuit. That biscuits. So maybe that's the next video. What goes with biscuits?
What goes with biscuits? My next single is going to be biscuits.
Biscuits. Biscuits, baby.
I love you. Thank you.
I love you too. I'll see you soon. Okay.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Bye.
Bye. Now, how do you end this thing?
I have no earthly clue.
I think I do it.
I think you do it. I'm just trapped until you end it.
Bye.
You just turn off the phone.